when the world's richest man received a cream-colored invitation with elegant handwriting, nobody expected what would happen next. The envelope sat on Elon Musk's Tesla office desk for 3 weeks, untouched, like a ghost from his past. Inside was an invitation that would force him to face the most painful chapter of his life. His ex-wife Justine was getting married again, 8 years after their bitter divorce, after the custody battles, after the $4 million in legal fees. She was starting a new life with someone else, and she had invited him to watch. What Elon did next shocked everyone who knew him. The man who conquered space, revolutionized electric cars, and built an empire worth billions, was about to make the most emotional decision of his life. By the end of this story, you'll understand why one small wrapped box would make an entire wedding cry, and how it changed 3 lives forever. The morning started like any other in Elon's Austin office. The year was 2024, and he was deeper than ever in his work. SpaceX missions to Mars, Tesla's new factories, and the endless stream of meetings that filled his 18-hour days. His assistant, Maria, knocked softly on his door. "Mr. Musk, this came in the personal mail," she said, placing the cream-colored envelope on his mahogany desk with trembling hands. She recognized the handwriting, too. Elon stared at the envelope for 20 minutes without moving. Outside his windows, the Texas sun painted everything gold, but inside his office, the world felt gray. The elegant script on the front read simply, "Mr. Elon Musk." No mention of Tesla, SpaceX, or any of his titles. Just his name, written in handwriting he would recognize anywhere. With shaking fingers, he finally opened it. The paper was thick and expensive, the kind Justine had always loved. She used to spend hours in fancy stationery stores, running her fingers over different textures, talking about how each one felt different under your touch. "Paper has feelings, too," she used to say, laughing at his confused expression. The invitation was simple but elegant. "Justine Wilson and Michael Williams request the honor of your presence at their wedding ceremony. Saturday, October 26, 2024, at 4 p.m., St. Margaret's Episcopal Church, Pacific Palisades, California. Elon, I know this might seem strange, but the children think it would mean a lot if you were there. We've all moved forward, and I'd like you to meet Michael. I hope you can make it. Jay." Elon's hands trembled as he set the invitation down. His mind raced back to their own wedding day, January 15th, 2000, in the Caribbean. He remembered how beautiful Justine looked in her white dress, how they danced under the stars, how he whispered in her ear, "I am the alpha in this relationship." That comment, which seemed playful at the time, had become the beginning of the end. Their marriage had lasted 8 years. 8 years of building Tesla and SpaceX, 8 years of 18-hour workdays, 8 years of slowly drifting apart while trying to raise 5 children together. 8 years that ended in one of the most expensive divorces in Silicon Valley history. The tragedy of their first child, Nevada, who died of SIDS at just 10 weeks old, had broken something between them that never healed. While Justine grieved openly, Elon buried himself in work, refusing to talk about the loss. "Emotions are obstacles," he would tell her. "We need to move forward." But Justine needed to grieve. She needed her husband to hold her, to cry with her, to acknowledge their pain together. Instead, Elon scheduled IVF appointments and talked about having more children, as if Nevada had never existed. They did have more children. Twins Griffin and Xavier in 2004, then triplets Kai, Saxon, and Damien in 2006. But with each child, Elon became more distant, more consumed by his companies, more convinced that his mission to change the world was more important than being present for his family. The breaking point came in 2008. Justine had been in a car accident, not serious, but enough to shake her. As she sat in the hospital waiting room, she realized something that terrified her. Her first thought hadn't been about her children or her husband, but about how the accident might delay Elon's meetings. She had lost herself completely. "I barely recognized myself," she would later write. "I had turned into a trophy wife, and not even a happy one." The next day, Elon came home from Tesla and found Justine waiting for him in their Bel Air mansion. She had made dinner, put the children to bed early, and prepared to have the most important conversation of their marriage. "We need to talk," she said. "Can it wait?" Elon replied, already pulling out his phone to check emails. The Roadster launch is next month, and we're behind on production. No, Justine said firmly. It can't wait. We can't keep living like this. What followed was the most honest conversation they'd had in years. Justine talked about feeling invisible, about how Elon's criticism had slowly eroded her confidence, about how she missed a man who used to buy her books and listen to her dreams. Elon listened, but even as she spoke, part of his mind was on the Tesla factory, on the SpaceX rocket that had exploded the previous month, on the thousands of problems that only he could solve. I hear what you're saying, he said finally, but this is who I am, Justine. I'm building something bigger than us, bigger than any individual relationship. I thought you understood that. I did understand, Justine replied, tears in her eyes. But I didn't understand that it meant there would be no room left for me. They tried couples therapy for exactly 4 sessions. On the 5th appointment, Elon didn't show up. He was in a crucial meeting with investors. When Justine called him, he was irritated. Justine, I'm trying to save the company. Can't this wait? That night, Justine made her decision. The next morning, she asked for a divorce. Elon's response was swift and practical, just like everything else in his life. He filed the paperwork that afternoon and was engaged to British actress Tallulah Riley 6 weeks later. The divorce battle that followed was brutal. California's community property laws meant that Justine was entitled to half of everything, but Elon fought it with the same intensity he brought to business. The legal fees alone totaled over $4 million. In the end, Justine got the family home in Bel Air, spousal support, child support, and shared custody of their 5 children. But what she really wanted, acknowledgement, emotional connection, the man she had fallen in love with in college, those things were gone forever. Now, 16 years after their wedding and 8 years after their divorce, Justine was marrying someone else, and she wanted Elon to be there. Elon spent the next 3 weeks staring at that invitation. It moved from his desk to his bedside table, then to the kitchen counter of his Austin home, then back to his office. Everywhere he went, the cream-colored paper seemed to follow him, a constant reminder of a choice he didn't want to make. His brother Kimball was the first person he told about the invitation. She invited you to her wedding? Kimball asked, incredulous. That's unusual. She says the kids want me there, Elon replied, and she wants me to meet Michael. Michael, the guy she's marrying. He's a marine biologist, apparently. Studies coral reefs or something. Kimball was quiet for a moment. Are you going to go? I don't know, Elon admitted. Part of me thinks I should. For the kids. But another part of me thinks it's a terrible idea. What does the terrible idea part think will happen? Elon considered this. That I'll realize I made the biggest mistake of my life letting her go. And what does the other part think? That maybe seeing her happy will help me let go of whatever I've been holding on to all these years. The truth was, Elon's relationship since Justine had followed a depressingly similar pattern. His marriage to Tallulah Riley had been passionate but unstable. They married, divorced, remarried, and divorced again, unable to find lasting happiness despite their obvious chemistry. His relationship with Amber Heard had been intense but brief. His complicated arrangement with Grimes had produced 3 children, but no real partnership. In every relationship, the same issues surfaced. Elon's inability to be emotionally present, his tendency to prioritize work over everything else, his belief that grand gestures could replace daily intimacy. With Tallulah, he had tried to change. During their second marriage, he made rules for himself. No phones during dinner, weekend trips without work calls, designated relationship time every day. But the habits were too ingrained, the pull of his companies too strong. When Tesla was struggling with Model 3 production issues, when SpaceX was preparing for crucial launches, when Neuralink needed his attention, the relationship rules went out the window. You're still the same person you were with Justine, Tallulah had told him during their final fight in 2016. You think love is about providing and protecting, but you don't understand that sometimes love is just about showing up. Now, as Elon stared at Justine's wedding invitation, Tallulah's words echoed in his mind. Maybe this was his chance to finally show up. not as a husband or a boyfriend, but as a human being capable of putting someone else's happiness before his own pride. But there was another reason Elon was considering going to the wedding, a reason he barely admitted to himself. Curiosity about Michael Williams. Elon had done what any billionaire with unlimited resources would do. He had Michael investigated. Not maliciously, just thoroughly. The report sat in his safe. 20 pages of detailed information about the man who was about to become his children's stepfather. Dr. Michael Williams, age 42, marine biologist specializing in coral reef restoration. Ph.D. from Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Published author of 2 books on ocean conservation. Divorced, 1 teenage daughter from his first marriage. No debt, modest income, clean record. Volunteers at the local aquarium on weekends. Coaches Little League Baseball. By all accounts, Michael was everything Elon was not: present, emotionally available, and completely uninterested in changing the world. He seemed content to make a difference in his small corner of it, to be home for dinner every night, to prioritize relationships over achievements. Reading the report, Elon felt something he rarely experienced: inadequacy, not professional inadequacy. He knew he could buy and sell Michael Williams 1,000 times over, but personal inadequacy. The realization that maybe success and influence weren't the most important measures of a man. His daughter, former son Xavier, now Vivian, had cut off all contact with him the previous year. His relationship with his other children was cordial but distant. They saw him for scheduled visits, holiday gatherings, and special events, but he wasn't part of their daily lives in any meaningful way. Michael Williams, with his modest salary and unremarkable resume, was about to become more present in Elon's children's lives than their biological father had ever been. The thought was humbling and terrifying. On a Tuesday evening, exactly 2 weeks before the wedding, Elon made his decision. He called his assistant. "Maria, I need you to RSVP to the Wilson Williams wedding. I'll be attending. Should I arrange for a +1, sir?" Elon paused. He could bring someone a date, a friend, moral support. But something told him this was a journey he needed to make alone. "No," he said. "Just me." After hanging up, Elon walked to his bedroom closet and pulled out a small wooden box he kept hidden behind his formal wear. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a bracelet, a simple silver chain with small charms representing each of his and Justine's children. He had commissioned it for their 5th wedding anniversary, but never gave it to her. By then, they were already drifting apart, and jewelry felt like an inadequate apology for all the dinners he'd missed, all the conversations he'd avoided, all the moments when his mind was elsewhere. He held the bracelet up to the light, watching the small charms catch the gleam, a small rocket ship for Griffin, who loved space stories, a book for Xavier, now Vivian, who was always reading, a soccer ball for Kai, who played every weekend, a guitar for Saxon, who had inherited Justine's artistic side, and a small star for Damien, who was fascinated by astronomy. There was also a 6th charm, a small angel added after Nevada's death. Justine had never seen it. Elon had intended to give her the bracelet as a way to show that, despite everything, he remembered what mattered, that he paid attention to their children's interests, that he thought about their family even when he was consumed by work. But he never found the right moment. There was always another crisis, another deadline, another reason to wait for a better time that never came. Now, 8 years after their divorce, he finally knew what to do with it. October 26, 2024, dawned clear and bright in Los Angeles. Elon woke at 5:30 a.m., as he had every day for the past 15 years. But for the first time in memory, he didn't immediately reach for his phone to check messages and market updates. Instead, he lay in bed thinking about Justine. He remembered the first time he saw her, 18 years old and sitting in the common room at Queen's University. She was reading a thick novel, something by Margaret Atwood, and making notes in the margins. Her concentration was absolute, and Elon found himself mesmerized by the way she tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear as she read. He had invented an excuse to approach her, claiming they had met at a party he knew she hadn't attended. When he invited her for ice cream and she didn't show up, a reasonable person might have taken a hint. But Elon Musk had never been accused of being reasonable. He bought 2 ice cream cones and searched the entire campus until he found her in the study center, still reading. By the time he reached her, the ice cream was dripping down his hands. But something about his persistence and the absurdity of the situation made her laugh. "You're either very determined or completely insane," she had said. "Can't I be both?" he replied, and she laughed again. That laugh, genuine, surprise, delighted, was a sound that made him fall in love. Now, as Elon prepared for her wedding to another man, he wondered when he had stopped trying to make her laugh. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. at St. Margaret's Episcopal Church in Pacific Palisades. Elon had driven past it twice in the past week, unable to stop himself from scouting the location like he was planning a business presentation. It was a beautiful church, all stone and stained glass, overlooking the ocean. The kind of place Justine had always dreamed of getting married, though their own wedding had been a quick affair in the Caribbean, rushed between his business obligations. Elon spent the morning at his Bel Air home, the same house he had shared with Justine, which he kept but rarely used. Walking to the rooms brought back a flood of memories. Christmases with the children, rare quiet Sunday mornings, the few moments when work had taken a back seat to family, in what used to be their bedroom, now converted to a home office. He found a photo album Justine had left behind during the divorce. He had never looked through it, but today felt like the right time. The photos told the story of their relationship in reverse chronological order. The later pictures showed the strain, forced smiles at charity events, separate poses with the children, the distance in their body language even when they were standing close together. But the early photos were different. There was joy there, genuine connection. A picture from their honeymoon showed them laughing on a beach, Elon's arm around Justine's shoulders, both of them looking impossibly young and optimistic. Another from a Tesla launch party captured them dancing, lost in each other despite being surrounded by hundreds of people. The last photo in the album was from their wedding day. Justine in her simple white dress, Elon in his tuxedo, both glowing with happiness and possibility. They looked like people who believed their love could conquer anything. "What happened to us?" Elon whispered to the empty room. He knew the answer, of course. Life happened. Ambition happened. Success happened, with all its demands and distractions. He had chosen his mission to change the world over his mission to love the woman who had believed in him before anyone else did. At 2:30 p.m., Elon finally got dressed for the wedding. He chose a simple black suit, not too formal, not too casual. He wanted to blend into the background, to be present without drawing attention away from Justine and Michael. In his jacket pocket, he placed a small wrap box containing the silver bracelet. He still wasn't sure he would give it to her, but he wanted to have it nearby. The drive to Pacific Palisades took 45 minutes through typical LA traffic. Elon sat in the back of his Model S, driven by his security chief, Marcus, who had been instructed to wait in the parking lot during the ceremony. "You sure about this, boss?" Marcus asked as they pulled up to the church. "No," Elon admitted, "but I'm going in anyway." St. Margaret's was more beautiful up close than it had appeared from the street. The afternoon sun streamed through the stained glass windows, casting rainbow patterns on the stone walls. White flowers decorated the entrance, and Elon could hear soft organ music drifting from inside. He paused at the entrance, suddenly uncertain. What was he doing here? What did he hope to accomplish? Was this really about supporting Justine and meeting Michael, or was it about satisfying his own curiosity and perhaps assuaging some guilt? Before he could change his mind, the church doors opened and a woman he didn't recognize smiled at him. "Are you here for the Wilson-Williams wedding?" she asked cheerfully. "Yes," Elon replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "I'm a friend of the bride." She handed him a program and gestured toward the pews. "The ceremony will begin in about 15 minutes. Please find any seat you'd like." The church was half full, maybe 60 people, all talking quietly and admiring the decorations. Elon recognized some faces from his marriage to Justine, her sister, a few college friends, some colleagues from her writing career. Others were presumably Michael's family and friends. He chose a seat in the back row, hoping to remain inconspicuous. But within minutes, he was recognized. "Elon!" A woman's voice called softly. He turned to see Dr. Sarah Chun, a marine biologist who had been one of Justine's close friends during their marriage. "I can't believe you came." "Hello, Sarah," Elon replied, standing to give her a polite hug. "How are you?" "I'm well, thank you. I have to say, Justine will be so surprised to see you. And pleased, I think." "I hope so. I wasn't sure if I should come, but you did," Sarah finished. "That says something." She gestured to the man beside her, tall, silver-haired, with kind eyes and a weathered face that spoke of years spent outdoors. "This is my husband, David. David, this is Elon Musk." David shook Elon's hand with a firm grip of someone who worked with his hands. "I know your reputation, of course, but Sarah has told me a lot about you from the old days. She says you and Justine were quite a team." "We were," Elon agreed quietly, "a long time ago." "Well," David said, "it speaks well of both of you that you're here today. Not many people can manage friendship after everything." As they talked, Elon found himself relaxing slightly. These were good people, kind, genuine, uncomplicated by the corporate politics and wealth dynamics that dominated most of his interactions. They treated him like a normal person, not a celebrity or a business opportunity. More guests arrived, including Elon's 5 children with Justine. Griffin and Vivian, now 20, were followed by the triplets, Kai, Saxon, and Damien, all 18 and preparing for college. They spotted their father immediately and came over to greet him. "Dad," Kai said, genuinely pleased. "I can't believe you actually came." "Mom wasn't sure you would," added Saxon. "She's been nervous about it all week." Elon felt a pang of guilt. Even after all these years, his presence or absence could still make Justine nervous. He realized that by coming to her wedding, he might be adding stress to what should be one of the happiest days of her life. "Should I not have come?" he asked his children quietly. "No, you should definitely be here." Griffin assured him, "This is important to Mom. And to us. We want you to meet Michael. He's really great, Dad." "He is," Vivian agreed. "He listens when we talk. And he makes Mom laugh. Like, really laugh, the way she used to when we were little." The implication hung in the air unspoken. The way she used to laugh when she was married to Elon before everything became so complicated and painful. "I'm glad she's happy," Elon said, and meant it. The organ music grew louder, signaling the start of the ceremony. The children took their seats in the front rows. They were all part of the wedding party, and Elon returned his place in the back. As the processional began, Elon felt his breath catch. The bridesmaids entered first, dressed in soft blue, followed by Michael's teenage daughter from his first marriage, serving as maid of honor. Then came Michael himself, walking with confidence toward the altar. He was exactly as Elon had imagined from the investigative report: medium height, graying hair, kind face. He wore a simple black suit and looked nervous but happy. When the wedding march began and all heads turned toward the back of the church, Elon's heart nearly stopped. Justine appeared in the doorway, radiant in a simple ivory dress. She looked older than when he had last seen her. There were lines around her eyes, silver threads in her dark hair, but she was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with youth or perfection. She glowed with happiness, with contentment, with the confidence of a woman who had found her place in the world. Her eyes swept the congregation as she walked down the aisle, smiling at friends and family. When she spotted Elon in the back row, her steps faltered for just a moment. Their eyes met across the crowded church, and for an instant 24 years fell away. They were young again, full of dreams and possibilities, believing their love story would last forever. Then Justine smiled, not the careful, polite smile she had worn during their divorce proceedings, but the genuine, delighted laugh smile he remembered from their college days. She gave him a small nod of acknowledgement and gratitude before continuing toward the altar, toward Michael, toward her new life. As Elon watched his ex-wife marry another man, he felt something unexpected. Peace. Not happiness. This was still painful. But peace. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about Tesla production numbers or SpaceX launch schedules or Neuralink development timelines. He was completely present in this moment, witnessing the happiness of someone he had once loved with all his heart. The ceremony itself was beautiful and personal. Michael and Justine had written their own vows, and their words spoke of partnership, presence, and putting each other first. They promised to protect each other's dreams, to create space for individual growth within their marriage, to always remember that love is a daily choice, not just a feeling. As they spoke, Elon couldn't help but think about the vows he and Justine had exchanged 24 years earlier. Standard religious vows about better and worse, richer and poorer, sickness and health. They had made grand promises about forever without really understanding what forever would require of them. Michael and Justine's vows were different. They acknowledged the work that love requires, the choice to prioritize their relationship even when other things demanded their attention. They promised to be fully present with each other, to listen without fixing, to support without controlling. These were the vows Elon should have made. This was the husband he should have been. When the minister pronounced Michael and Justine husband and wife, the congregation erupted in applause and cheers. Elon found himself clapping too, genuinely happy for them despite the complex emotions churning in his chest. As the newly married couple walked back down the aisle, Justine spotted Elon again and gave him another smile, this one even warmer than the first. In that smile, he saw forgiveness, gratitude, and something that looked almost like pride, proud that they had both grown enough to be in the same room without anger or awkwardness. After the ceremony, guests moved to the reception venue, a beautiful ocean view terrace just a few minutes from the church. Cocktail hour was in full swing by the time Elon arrived, having spent a few extra minutes in his car, collecting his thoughts and deciding whether to stay for the reception or slip away quietly. He chose to stay. Having come this far, he wanted to complete the journey. The reception venue was perfect for Justine, elegant but not ostentatious, with round tables overlooking Monterey Bay. White lights were strung between posts, and each table had centerpieces made of coral and sea glass that caught the late afternoon sunlight. Everything spoke of Michael's influence and Justine's refined taste. Elon found his assigned seat at a table with some of Justine's colleagues from the marine biology world, where she now worked as a science writer. He had worried about awkward conversations, but instead found himself genuinely enjoying the discussions about ocean research and conservation efforts. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, one of Justine's research partners, was telling him about their latest coral restoration project when she paused mid-sentence. "I'm sorry, I just realized who you are," she said. "You're the ex-husband, aren't you?" Elon tensed, waiting for things to get uncomfortable. "Yes," he said carefully. "Justine talks about you sometimes," Dr. Rodriguez continued. "She says you taught her to dream bigger than she ever thought possible." Elon felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't expected. "She said that?" "She also said you're the reason she learned to ask for what she needed in relationships," added Dr. James Park, another colleague. "She said that understanding what went wrong in your marriage helped her recognize what she needed to be happy." The conversation continued, and Elon realized that Justine spoke of their marriage without bitterness. She had found a way to reframe their relationship as a learning experience rather than a failure, to honor what they had built together while acknowledging why it hadn't lasted. It was a mature, generous perspective that Elon wasn't sure he had achieved yet. As dinner was served, the wedding party began giving toasts. Michael's daughter spoke first, welcoming Justine into their family and expressing gratitude for the happiness she had brought to her father's life. Several friends shared funny stories and heartfelt wishes for the couple's future. Then Griffin stood up, representing Elon and Justine's children. "Most people know my mom as Dr. Justine Wilson, the science writer, or as Justine Wilson Williams, Michael's new wife," Griffin began. "But to us, she's just Mom, the woman who read us bedtime stories about brave princesses and clever dragons, who helped us with homework even when she had her own deadlines, who somehow managed to be present for every school play and soccer game and science fair, even when her life was complicated." Griffin's voice grew emotional as he continued. "Our parents' marriage ended when we were young, and for a while, things were difficult. But Mom taught us something important. Families can change shape and still be full of love. She showed us that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is start over, that it's never too late to choose happiness." He turned toward Michael. "Michael, thank you for loving our mom the way she deserves to be loved. Thank you for showing up, for being present, for understanding that being part of this family means being part of something bigger than just a marriage. We're lucky to have you. Finally, Griffin looked toward the back of the room, where Elon sat. And Dad, thank you for coming today. It means more than you know. To Mom, to us, and I think to Michael too. Thank you for showing that love can evolve, that families can be complicated and still be connected, and that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is your blessing for their happiness. The room erupted in applause, and Elon felt tears prick his eyes. His son, their son, had somehow found words that honored everyone involved while acknowledging the complexity of their situation. As the formal toast ended and the reception moved into a more relaxed phase, Elon knew the time had come for the conversation he had been preparing for all day. He approached Michael first, finding him near the bar talking with some colleagues. Michael? Elon extended his hand. I'm Elon Musk. I wanted to introduce myself and congratulate you. Michael's handshake was firm and confident. Elon, I'm so glad you came. Justine wasn't sure you would, but I hoped you'd be here. I've been looking forward to meeting you. You have? Of course. You're the father of my stepchildren. And from what they tell me, you're the reason Justine became the strong, independent woman I fell in love with. I know your marriage didn't work out, but it produced 5 incredible people and helped shape Justine into who she is today. Elon was struck by Michael's generosity of spirit. There was no jealousy, no territorial posturing, just genuine appreciation for the role Elon had played in Justine's life. I wanted to tell you, Elon said, that you're marrying an extraordinary woman. Justine is one of the most intelligent, creative, and resilient people I've ever known. She deserves someone who appreciates her completely and loves her as she deserves to be loved. I intend to do exactly that, Michael replied seriously. I'm genuinely grateful for you coming to her life, Elon continued. She deserves all the happiness in the world. She deserves someone who puts her first, who never makes her choose between love and her own dreams. The 2 men stood in comfortable silence for a moment, each recognizing the significance of the conversation they were having. I hope we can stay in touch, Michael said finally. I know blended families can be challenging, but I believe we can make this work. The children are incredible, and they clearly love and respect both their parents. I'd like to be a positive addition to their lives, not a complication. I'd like that too, Elon agreed. As the evening progressed, Elon found himself relaxing in a way he rarely experienced at social events. Without the pressure of being Elon Musk, billionaire entrepreneur, he could simply be a father and ex-husband, a man learning to navigate complex family dynamics with grace. He danced with his daughter Vivian, who had recently transitioned and was still navigating her relationship with her father. They didn't discuss their ongoing estrangement, but the dance felt like a small step toward healing. He talked with the triplets about their college plans, genuinely listening to their dreams and concerns instead of immediately trying to solve their problems or redirect their ambitions. He spent time with Justine's sister, who had been frosty toward him during the divorce, but now seemed genuinely pleased by his presence at the wedding. But the conversation he had been preparing for all day was still ahead of him. As the reception began to wind down, Elon approached Justine, who was saying goodbye to some departing guests. Justine, he said softly, could we talk for a moment? She turned, and again he was struck by how happy she looked. Marriage to Michael suited her in a way that marriage to him never had. Of course, she said, leading him to a quieter corner of the terrace. They stood together looking out over the ocean, the same view they might have admired from their Bel Air home all those years ago. Thank you for coming, Justine said finally. I wasn't sure you would, but I hoped we had reached a place where this would be possible. Thank you for inviting me, Elon replied. I wasn't sure I should come, but I'm glad I did. Michael seems like a wonderful man. He is, Justine agreed. He's everything I never knew I needed. The implication wasn't lost on either of them. Justine, Elon said, reaching into his jacket pocket. I have something I've been carrying around for 8 years. Something I should have given you a long time ago. He pulled out the small wrap box and handed it to her. Elon, you didn't need to bring a gift. It's not exactly a gift, he said. It's something I made for you during our marriage but never gave you. I'd like you to have it now. With curious fingers, Justine unwrapped the box and opened it. Inside, nestled in soft tissue paper, was a silver bracelet with its 6 small charms. Her breath caught as she realized what she was looking at. Each charm represented one of their children, crafted with obvious care and attention to detail. And there, among the others, was a small angel. For Nevada, Elon said quietly. Tears filled Justine's eyes as she lifted the bracelet from the box. Elon, this is beautiful. When did you... Our 5th wedding anniversary. I commissioned it as a gift, but I never found the right moment. There was always something more urgent, more important. By the time I realized how important it was, we were already... He trailed off. We were already over, Justine finished gently. I've carried it with me for 8 years, Elon continued. Through the divorce, through everything that came after. I kept thinking someday I'd find the right moment to give it to you, to explain what it meant. But there never was a right moment until now. Justine held the bracelet up to catch the light from the string of bulbs overhead. The charms sparkled, each one a tiny representation of the love they had created together despite everything that had gone wrong between them. It's perfect, she whispered. It's absolutely perfect. I wanted you to know, Elon said, his voice thick with emotion, that even when I was absent, even when I was distracted and difficult and impossible to live with, I was paying attention. I saw Griffin's love of space, Xavier's passion for reading, Kai's dedication to soccer, Saxon's musical talent, Damien's fascination with science. I saw all of it, even if I didn't know how to show it. I know you did, Justine said. That was never the problem, Elon. You loved us. You just didn't know how to be present with us. I'm learning, Elon said. It's taken me too long, but I'm finally learning the difference between providing for someone and being there for them. Justine stepped closer and, without warning, embraced him. It was the first time they had hugged since their divorce, and it felt both familiar and strange, an acknowledgement of their shared history and their separate futures. Thank you, she whispered in his ear, for this, for coming today, for letting me go, for being part of our children's lives even when it's complicated. Thank you, Elon replied, for teaching me what love requires. I'm sorry I learned it too late for us, but not too late for them. He gestured toward their children, who were laughing together near the dessert table. It wasn't too late, Justine said as they separated. It was exactly when you were supposed to learn it. As the reception reached its final hour, something unexpected happened. Michael approached the microphone that had been used for a toast earlier in the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice carrying across the terrace. Before we end this perfect day, Justine and I wanted to share something with you. The conversation quieted as guests turned their attention to the new groom. When Justine and I first started talking about getting married, we had many conversations about what this wedding would mean, not just for us, but for our combined families. We have 6 children between us, all at different stages of their lives, all needing to understand how this new family configuration would work. He gestured toward Justine, who joined him at the microphone. One of the most important questions we had to answer, Justine continued, was how to honor the past while building the future. How to acknowledge that love can end without diminishing what it created. How to show our children that families can change shape and still be sources of strength and support. Elon felt a chill of anticipation, uncertain where this was leading. Today, Michael said, you're the father of my stepchildren, an unexpected gift, and from what they tell me, you're the reason Justine became the strong, into his jacket independent woman and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I know your marriage didn't work out. Someone very 5 incredible gave Justine something helped shape Justine into not just a beautiful piece of jewelry. Elon was struck the love by Michael's generosity, extraordinary young people. There was no jealousy, now part of our no territorial posturing. All eyes turned toward genuine appreciation for the role Elon had played in Justine's life. He had intended for his gift to Justine, Elon said, to become you're marrying an extraordinary Elon. Justine is one of the most intelligent, creative, and resilient people I've ever known. Would you come up here, please? She deserves someone who appreciates her completely, except for the sound of waves against the shore below. She deserves to be loved. Elon felt his heart racing as he walked toward the microphone. Michael replied seriously. Uncertain what was expected. I'm genuinely grateful you came to her life. I asked Michael if I could share what you gave me tonight. She deserves all the happiness in the world. Because I think our friends and family should understand what just happened. Who never makes her choose. She held up the bracelet and her own so the guests could see it. This two men stood in something silent about love and loss. Each recognized the significance of the conversation they were having. When I hope we can stay in touch. There was a lot of pain and anger. I know blended families. We said things we regretted, but I believe we can make this custody. And the children are incredibly wrong, and they clearly love and respect stronger as she continued. I'd like to be a positive addition to their lives. Elon gave me something that shows not a complication. Doesn't just disappear I'd like that when relationships end. Elon agreed. It transforms. As the evening progressed, the romantic love Elon found himself relaxing in a way he rarely experienced at social and taught us both important lessons without the pressure being about Elon what Musk, we need to be happy. Billionaire entrepreneur. That love he could simply be a father into co-parenting partnership. A man learned to navigate complex family dynamics with grace. She fastened the bracelet around her with his daughter Vivian, where it caught the light recently transitioned. When I asked Elon to come to our relationship with her father, I wasn't sure he would. They didn't discuss their ongoing estrangement. It's not easy to watch someone you once loved. The dance felt like a small step toward healing. It requires a generosity of triplets about their college plans. Not everyone can manage. Genuinely listening to their dreams. She turned to look concerned instead of immediately trying to solve their problem. But you did more than just show up. Redirect their ambitions. You brought a gift that honored our entire history together. You spent time with Justine's sister. The joy and the sorrow toward him during the divorce. The children we raised, but now seemed genuinely pleased by the dreams we shared and the different conversations we've been preparing for all day. The guests were still ahead of silent now. As the reception began to wind down, emotion in Justine's Elon approached Justine. This bracelet was saying goodbye to some every day that love doesn't have to end badly, he said softly. She continued. Could we talk for a moment? Two people can fail at marriage and still succeed. And again, he was struck by how happy sometimes the greatest gift to Michael suited her freedom in a way that marriage to him never had. Of course. She turned to Michael, she said, and you, leading him to a quieter corner of the terrace. Her voice full of warmth. They stood together looking out over this complexity into our wedding day. They might have that honoring Bel Air house all those part of building our future. Thank you for coming. You saw beauty in the messiness said blended families. I wasn't sure you'd history, but I hoped. Finally, I hope we had reached a place the entire gathering possible. Tonight, thank you for inviting me. Witness the beginning of a new marriage. I wasn't sure I should come, evolution, but I'm glad I did. Love into something Michael different, seems like a wonderful man, equally valuable. He is. We saw what forgiveness looks like. He's everything I never knew I needed. What putting children's implication wasn't lost on either of them. She looked back at Elon. Elon, do you have anything you'd like to say? Reaching into his jacket pocket. Elon took the microphone. I have something I've been carrying around for a man who regularly spoke to thousands of people. Something I should have given you a long time. Electric cars and the future. He pulled out the small wrap box. He felt surprisingly nervous addressing 60 wedding guests about love and family. It's not exactly. I didn't expect to speak tonight. He began, his voice barely steady. It's something I came here to support marriage, but never gave you. I'd like you to have far more than I gave. With curious fingers, he looked out at the faces watching him, unwrapped the box, children opened it. Justine's friends, Michael's family, tissue paper. People who had witnessed silver bracelet and were now witnessing something entirely different. Her breath caught. 24 years realized what she was looking at. I fell in love with each charm represented one of their children. I thought I knew what love meant. With obvious care and attention to detail. Achieving enough success to give her everything she could want. Small angel. But I didn't understand that Nevada. Also, Elon said quietly about attention, tears filled Justine's eyes as she lifted the bracelet from the box. Other things demand your Elon, this is beautiful. His voice grew stronger as he found his rhythm. Wedding anniversary. Our marriage I commissioned because I didn't know how to balance my mission to change the world. I never found the right my responsibility. There was always something more urgent who believed in that mission. By the time I realized how important I was so focused on building a future already that I forgot to live the present. We were already over at Michael. Justine finished gently. Today I watched you marry a woman I loved, but didn't know how to keep. Elon continued. I saw the way you look at divorce, the way you listen when she speaks, everything that came after, the way you make her laugh. Someday I'd find the right moment everything I should have been, but to explain what it meant. But there never was a right moment. Justine, now you deserve so much more than I was able to give you. To catch the light, you deserved a partner who was present, bulbs overhead, who put your relationship charm sparkled, who understood that success means a tiny representation if you don't have someone to share despite. I'm sorry it took me so long to learn these lessons. It's perfect, she whispered. Finally, it's absolutely perfect. To Griffin, I wanted you to know, Kai, Saxon, Elon and Damien, said, his voice that you are the best thing your mother and I ever even when I was together. Absent. I know when I was distracted and my distraction, my inability to be the father I was paying attention. I saw Griffin's love I'm working every day. Xavier's passion for reading, Kai's dedication to soccer. He paused. Saxon's musical talent, gathering courage, fascination with science. Next. I saw all of it, watching your mother even if I didn't know how to show it. I realized I know you did. Love isn't about possession. That was never the problem. It's not about keeping people close. You loved us because you're afraid of losing them. Didn't know how to be present. Love is about wanting someone to be happy. I'm learning, even if their happiness doesn't include you. It's taken me too long, but I'm finally learning the difference between happiness is always and being there for all of you. That's why she stepped closer and without. And now it includes Michael. It was the first time that hugged her in ways I was too felt both familiar and self-absorbed to understand. An acknowledgement of their shared history. He looked around at all the faces watching him. Thank you. I came here today thinking I was saying goodbye to something. For this, but I'm leaving with the understanding that for letting me go, don't end, for being part of our children's lives. Even my love for Justine has become respect and gratitude. Elon replied, our family has become bigger for teaching me what love requires. Also stronger. I'm sorry I learned it too late. He handed the microphone back to Michael, not too late for and was turned to leave when something unexpected happened. Who were laughing together at the dessert table. 60 people wasn't too late. One of the most honest, Justine said, vulnerable speeches any of them had ever heard. It was exactly when you were supposed to learn it in spontaneous as the reception applause. Reached its final hour. It wasn't just applause. Something unexpected as happened. Elon looked around Michael approached the microphone. He saw tears in many eyes. Earlier, he saw his own children, ladies and gentlemen, something he said that looked like his voice carrying across the terrace. He saw Michael nodding with genuine respect. Before we end this perfect day, he saw Justine with her hand over her heart. And I wanted to share something with you. The silver bracelet, the conversation quieted as guests turned come to a wedding expecting to feel loss and regret. When Justine and I first started talking about getting married, he was leaving with a sense of completion. We had many conversations about what this wedding would mean. Years. Not as just the applause faded before our combined families officially end. We have guests approached Elon to express their admiration for what they had witnessed. All the conversation that mattered most came from an unexpected source. He gestured toward Justine, daughter, who joined him at the microphone. Approached him as he was preparing. One of the most important questions we had to answer. She said quietly, continued, I just wanted to say how to honor the past while building the future. How to acknowledge that love can end without diminishing what it created. How to show our children that families can change shape and still be sources of strength and support. Elon felt a chill of anticipation, uncertain where this was leading. For showing me what it looks like, the father received unexpected gift from what they tell bodies. Those my parents got divorced when I was strong, independent woman pulled out a fellow with anger and blame. I know your marriage putting me in the middle. Someone very I was worried about what would happen when Dad helped shape Justine into not just a beautiful conflict with her. Elon was struck by love that she looked back toward where her father and Justine. There was no jealousy, saying goodbye, no territorial posturing. All eyes turned to genuine appreciation for the role. But watching you today and seeing how you put everyone, I wanted to tell you before Elon said, to become a marrying and divorce doesn't have to mean permanent. Justine is one of the most intelligent families to be complicated. You come up here, please. She deserves terrorist fell silent, completely, except very loves waves against as she deserves to be. I hope when I grow up, I intend to exact situation the way you did. Michael replied, uncertain what was expected. I'm genuinely grateful. I asked Michael if I could share what he was approached by each of his children for all the happiness in the world. Because I think our friends and family should understand what just happened. Expressions of gratitude. She held up his bracelet, and her own guests could see it, and hoped the two men stood something silent. The final conversation was with each recognized families who walked with 8 years parking area. Where I hope you can stay in touch. There was a lot of pain and anger. I know blended family. What you did tonight, you set up, but I believe it changes custody. And who was children are incredible. Wrong. I mean, clearly, her voice grew stronger. I've carried some anger about how I'd like to be a positive addition. Not because gave me something that not a complication. That was the right decision. I'd like that too. How it happened. Elon agreed. It transformed as the evening progressed. Fighting romantic love. Elon found himself nature relaxing in a way. I felt like you were trying to erase what we built together without the pressure being to make it seem like our millionaire entrepreneur. That love could simply be a father into ex-husband partnership, standing under a man learning to navigate complex family dynamics with grace. She fastened the bracelet down to his daughter, forgot what we had caught the recently transitioned bracelet. When I asked those charms representing each of her father, I wasn't sure he would. They didn't discuss their it's not easy to watch someone you once saw. Stans felt like a small remembered what mattered requires a generosity. Honored about his memory. Not everyone talked about. Genuinely listening to their dreams. She turned to look and she touched the bracelet immediately trying to solve the problem. And then your speech, redirect their ambition. You brought a gift that honored our spent time with Justine's sisters. The joy and the sauce toward marriage to children we raised. Now she showed our children pleased by the dreams we shared and the different conversations. I didn't even realize it was still all day. The guests were completely silent now. As the reception began to by the more than that, Elon approached Justine. This bracelet saying goodbye to some every day. The first time since Justine, I believe you really are learning that two people can fail at marriage. I believe and again actually trying to have sometimes the greatest maybe Michael someone freedom in a way that a lot of work someone had. On myself, turned to my relationship, and you leading him to on understanding what her voice full. They stood together, looking welcome this complexity. into our
same
wedding
view,
day. But tonight,
you
might
have
have
admired
my
Bel Air
past
all those years ago,
and that makes all the
Thank you
difference.
for
You saw
coming.
beauty.
They
They
hugged
hugged
one
one final
blended
time.
families.
I
This
wasn't
embrace
sure
felt
you
different
but
from
I
all
hope
the others.
Finally,
I hope we
not
had reached
nostalgic
the
or
sad,
sad,
possible.
but genuinely warm.
Thank you for inviting me.
Be happy,
Elon
Justine.
replied.
Marriage.
Elon
I wasn't
said,
sure
"We've
it
witnessed
come,
evolution.
but I'm
You
glad I
deserve
did.
love
All
and
the
something
Michael
different.
seems like a wonderful
But
man.
equally valuable.
Elon.
He is.
We saw what
Justine
forgiveness
agreed.
looks like. With whoever
He's
comes
everything
I
I
never
never
knew
knew
our
I needed.
children.
What putting
with yourself.
children's
Implications. That's
before
all
someone
anyone really
like
wants.
either of them.
She looked
Someone
back.
who
Elon
chooses to be fully
Elon
Do you have
said,
anything you'd like to
as
say
Elon
to
said,
Jack in the
Elon
backseat
took
of
the
his
microphone.
Tesla
I have
driving
something I've been
man.
carrying
He felt
around
something
for a man
he
who
had
regularly
experienced
spoke
in
to
years.
thousands
Something
of
I should have
people
given you
about
a long
relationships and
time
electric
ago.
cars,
Optimism
and the
about
future.
he pulled out the
humanity.
small wrap.
Wedding
He felt
that he had
surprisingly
dreaded
nervous
become a
addressing
transformative
60
wedding
wedding
guests
guests
about
about
love
love
and
and
choosing to be
family.
present. Not
I didn't
exactly
expect to
bringing
speak
bracelets,
tonight,
he
he
began,
by
his
speaking
voice
honestly
steady.
about
It's
his
something
failure
I
to
came
came
here
here
to
to
support
support
Justine.
Justine.
Not only
Never
honored
gave
Justine,
I'd
but
like
I
to
listened
have
far
now.
more than I gave.
He had
With
freed
curious
himself
fingers,
from
looked out the
8 years
faces
of
of
regret
watching
and
and unwrapped the box,
self-crimination.
children,
Opened it.
more
Justine's
important
friends.
side. He had
Michael
shown
his
his
family
television
himself.
people who had
Was
witnessed
that
love
love
marriage
doesn't have
and
any
now
small
witnessing
charms.
something
That
entire
families
families
can
can
evolve
evolve.
and
24
grow
years
stronger.
realized what she
That
was
I fell in love with
generous
each
charm
charm
represented
to
one of her
celebrate
traits.
I thought I knew what
crafted
love
with
meant.
obvious care,
Even when that
providing
happiness
detail.
doesn't include you.
Achieving
as
enough
long
success
as
to
others
others
disappear
everything she
behind
was
one
small
rearview
aimed.
mirror.
But I didn't understand
From
that
Nevada,
Elon pulled out his
Elon
Elon
said
said
quietly,
not to check
about
emails
tears
or
filled
stock
Justine's
prices
eyes
and
as
she
she
lifted
lifted
the
the
bracelet
bracelet
from
from
the
the
to send a
box.
message to
Man,
Elon's
you're
children.
beautiful.
His
Thank you
voice
for
being
being
stronger
stronger
as
as
our
he found his
fifth
rhythm,
wedding
expressing
anniversary.
his
Our
love
marriage
and
I
pride
commissioned
because
because I
they
didn't
would
know
give
how to
her.
balance my
The first
mission
time
and
I never
the
found
role
the
of my
right
responsibility.
moment. There was
always
always
something
something
more. There were
urgent,
more important
more
things
important
in that
attention
mission.
by the time I
small
realized
silver
I was so
bracelet had
focused on
indeed
we
made
everyone
already
cry
that I forgot to
He
live.
trailed
There were
off.
tears of healing.
We were
He looked
already
directly
over
at Michael,
of hope for what
Justine,
was possible.
gently.
When
Today
I
I've
carried
watched
love
Mary
over
for 8 years,
but didn't know
and
how
in
to
the
keep on
end, that
continuing.
gift
I saw the way you
transformed
looked
not
at
just
divorce,
the wedding,
the way you listened
an
to
entire
came
family's
after.
understanding.
I kept thinking
someday
someday
I
I saw everything I should have been. The story of Elon Musk what it by to his ex-wife.
But there never was a
Returning
right
Justine.
ultimately a story
Justine,
about the evolution
you
of love.
deserve so
Justine
much about
held an
learning
bracelet
that
of
caring
you
for
to
someone
catch the
you deserve the
sometimes
partner
means
who bring
both
both overhead,
who put your
so they can
relationship
find
charm,
happiness
sparkle,
who understood that
each
success
about
on
an
understanding
understanding
that
and
you
you
don't
don't
have
have
doesn't have to
share
mean
the
the
fight.
end of the family.
I'm sorry
the
it took
silver
so long
bracelet
to
that
learn
Elon
it's
had carried for
perfect,
8
she whispered.
years
Finally,
became a symbol of
it's
love
absolutely
transformed.
perfect.
To
I
Griffin
wanted you to
Mann,
know,
Kai,
Saxon,
Elon
and
said
Damien,
his
from
voice
possession
you are the
of
best
blessing.
thing your mother and I
From
ever
regret
when I
to
was
together.
absent. Sometimes
I know
even
my
my
greatest
abstract
gift
and
and
my
distraction,
my inability to
I was
father
paying
new
attention.
beginning.
Has
Sometimes
sometimes
the most
Griffin's
powerful
I'm
thing to do
working
is show
every
up
Xavier's
to
passion
become
man
true.
you deserve to
Kai's
have
dedication
race
soccer.
over grievance.
He paused.
Saxon's
What would you have
musical
done in
talent.
gathering
Damien's
courage?
fascination with
How do you
science.
handle the evolution?
I say,
all of it.
watching
Loving
your
even
own
if I didn't
Michael.
know how to show.
Let us
I
know in the
realized
comments.
I know you
Important.
did.
And
Just
love
don't forget
isn't
to
about
subscribe.
possession.
That
More
was never the
stories.
problem.
It's not about
the complex
keeping
nature of
you
human
loved it because
relationships.
you're afraid
You
of
just
losing
choices
them.
didn't know how love is about wanting
the bracelet
someone to be
still
happy.
sparkles
I'm
on
learning,
Justine's
even if their
wrist.
happiness
Elon
doesn't
said, daily
include. It's
reminder
taken me
that
to
love
voice
always
crack,
began
finally
emotion.
learning the difference
Justine's
between
happiness
is
is
always
always
being
sometimes
there for all of you.
That's
why you
stepped
stepped
closer
closer
to
and
her.
beautiful
Without
part.
and now it includes
Michael.
Mike.
Thank you for listening.
It was
to
the
love
first
and
time
protect
that
and
hugs,
cherish
smallest
your ways.
gestures,
I was
and felt
familiar
both familiar and
self-absorbed.
strange.
If you like this video,
acknowledgement of their
she
shared
looked around
to
to hit
all
the
the
subscribe
separate
button watching him.
And
I
thank you
came
sitting
here
here
today
today
thinking I was saying goodbye to
for
something
this,
know from where you
but
are
I'm
watching
coming
today
today
understanding that
for letting me
some things
go,
don't end. For being
they just
part of our
change
children's
form.
lives, even
My
when it's
love for
complicated.
Justine has become respect
Thank
and
you.
gratitude.
Elon
Our
replied,
family has become
for
bigger
teaching
and
me
more
what love
complex, but
requires.
also stronger.
I'm sorry I learned it too
He
late.
handed
for
the
us,
microphone back
but
to
not
Michael
too late for
and
them.
was turned to leave
He
when
gestured toward their
unexpected
children,
happened.
who were
The
laughing
entire
together near the
gathering,
dessert table.
60 people
It
who
wasn't
just
too
witnessed
late.
one of the most honest,
Justine said as they
vulnerable
separated.
speeches as any of them had ever heard. It was exactly when you were supposed to learn it, in spontaneous as the reception applause. Reached its final hour. It wasn't just applause. Something unexpected as happened. Elon looked around Michael approached the microphone. He saw tears in many eyes. Earlier, he saw his own children, ladies and gentlemen, something he said that looked like his voice carrying across the terrace. He saw Michael nodding with genuine respect. Before we end this perfect day, he saw Justine with her hand over her heart. And I wanted to share something with you. The silver bracelet, the conversation quieted as guests turned. He had come to a wedding expecting to feel loss and regret. When Justine and I first started talking about getting married, he was leaving with a sense of completion. We had many conversations he hadn't experienced in years. Not as just the applause faded before our combined families to officially end. We have six children between us to express their admiration for what they had witnessed. All the conversation that mattered most came from an unexpected source. He gestured toward teenage daughter, who Emma, joined him at the microphone. Approached him as he was preparing to leave. One of the most important questions we had to answer, she said quietly, continued, I just wanted to say how to honor the past while building the future. How to acknowledge that love can end without diminishing what it created. How to show our children that families can change shape and still be sources of strength and support. Elon felt a chill of anticipation, uncertain where this was leading.